Heartstopper Volume 1. Alice Oseman Bio. Alice Oseman is an award-winning author, illustrator, and screenwriter, born in 1994 in Kent, England. She has written 4 young adult contemporary novels: Solitaire, Radio Silence, I Was Born for This, and Loveless. She is the creator of the LGBTQIA+ young adult romance webcomic Heartstopper, which is now published in physical form by Hatchet Children's Group, and she is the writer, creator, and executive producer for the television adaptation of Heartstopper on Netflix. Alice's first novel, Solitaire, was published when she was 19. Now set a year after the beginning of the first Heartstopper, the central protagonist of Solitaire is Tori Spring, with Nick and Charlie as minor secondary characters. Their dynamic in this book was where Oseman's desire to tell their story began. How did they get to this point they're at in Solitaire? Where will they go from there? Oseman spent countless hours lost and in love with the story of Nick and Charlie, bringing Oseman peace in a way even writing their novels couldn't match. Originally a webcomic on Tumblr and Tapas, Heartstopper has amassed an enormous online fan base with over 52.1 million views to date, probably more by this time of publishing. Alice Oseman crowdfunded a limited print-run edition, meeting her funding goal in less than 2 hours. Hatchet Children's Group published Heartstopper Volume 1 more widely in 2019, followed by Volume 2 in July of the same year. Since then, Hatchet Children's Group have published a further 3 volumes, a yearbook, 2 novellas, and a colouring book. A final volume of Heartstopper is planned, with Volume 6 set to release sometime in 2026-ish. The Heartstopper series has inspired an outpouring of love since it first published in 2019, with 1 million print copies sold worldwide to date, sold-out nationwide book tours, and a live-action Netflix adaptation of Heartstopper, with Season 3 scheduled for release in October of this year, 2024. Heartstopper follows 2 teenage boys, Nick and Charlie, as they meet at a British grammar school, quickly become friends, and fall in love. Each volume navigates the ups and downs of first love, friendships, coming out, and mental health, beautifully framed by a warm cast of supporting characters. Alongside writing and drawing, Oseman enjoys playing the piano semi-proficiently, Pokemon games, and purchasing too many Converse shoes. Please see now a slide dedicated to all of the main characters that are included in this first volume. Images provided by Alice Oseman themselves in the published version of Heartstopper Volume 1. Section 1. Meet. Deep in the recesses of Truman Grammar School's library, Ben and our central protagonist Charlie Spring are snogging, though with minimal satisfaction. Charlie goes to his new form room class, also known as homeroom or house support group, with a mix of students from each year group. Allocated seating has been assigned, and Charlie is allocated next to one Nick Nelson from the year level above him. They exchange the iconic "Hi!" loaded with possibility. After nearly a week of polite greetings being exchanged, an exploded fountain pen gives the 2 boys the space and privacy to have their first proper conversation and start to bond. This is interrupted by Ben's texts, which turn derogatory when Charlie doesn't respond immediately. We fast forward to Charlie's friend Tao, wondering why Charlie is interested in being Nick's friend, quickly seeing past Charlie's thin facade and identifying that Charlie has a crush despite Charlie's denials. Charlie spots Ben displaying romantic signs towards a girl in public. That night, Charlie tells Ben he's not interested in meeting up anymore. Charlie runs on the track field next to Nick's hockey field, and Nick gets distracted watching Charlie. 2 weeks after sending the breakup text, Ben corners and grabs Charlie, trying to get an explanation, but Nick inadvertently interrupts. Ben storms away, and Charlie, wishfully hoping that Nick likes him, agrees to try joining the rugby team. Charlie enters the rugby locker room to the other players expressing doubts about Charlie's abilities. Nick is quick to grab Charlie and bring him up to speed on rugby, including a crash course in tackling. Within a week, Charlie has started impressing the other players, although Charlie expresses doubts to Nick, with Nick saddened that the older players remind Charlie of people who used to bully him. Charlie leaves the change room to meet up with Ben, his thoughts and hopes for Nick fracturing. Ben is antagonistic, and Charlie finally unloads all the pent-up negative emotions he's bottled up while making out with Ben in secret. Ben is happy to have gotten a rise out of Charlie and tries to force himself on Charlie. Nick, having followed Charlie from the change rooms, suspecting Charlie to be upset, has overheard most of the conversation and intervenes, pushing Ben off Charlie. Ben leaves vanquished, and Charlie tries to apologize to Nick, but Nick refuses to let Charlie keep saying sorry for a situation where he was the victim and had no control. After a reassuring pat on the shoulder from Nick, the two boys part ways for the day. Charlie quickly returning to a dark headspace, berating himself. Nick is distracted on the drive home, Nick's thoughts drifting to Charlie, the same blush lines appearing on Nick's cheeks previously reserved for Charlie when thinking about Nick. Section 2. Crush. Everything before the party. At home, Nick investigates Charlie on social media, reflecting upon when 10 months ago Charlie had come out and how unkindly people treated Charlie. He follows up with Charlie via text to make sure they're okay, and with a little prodding, Nick gets Charlie to open up about how Charlie and Ben started happening, and how what Charlie hoped could be a possible romance gradually realized through the combined secrecy and the open holding of girls' hands instead that Charlie was being used. Nick asks Charlie to stay away from Ben, and Charlie agrees. Charlie is concerned the next morning that he's overshared, but a hair ruffle and a "hey" reassure Charlie that everything with Nick is okay. Later that day, Tao gets frustrated with Charlie that his crush on Nick and the amount of time they're spending together only seems to be growing. Fast forward to March, the chance reveal of Nick owning a dog called Nellie opens the door for Charlie to visit. Charlie frets over his new haircut before heading out to see Nick, his sister offering mild reassurances at best, but picks up on the invisible inverted commas around friend and smiles to Charlie's confusion. Charlie, Nick, and Nellie hang out, Nick liking Charlie's new haircut, Charlie borrowing a oversized hoodie of Nick's after shenanigans in the snow. Sarah Nelson, Nick's mum, notes afterwards that Charlie is different from Nick's other friends and that Nick seems more themselves around Charlie. Charlie arrives home, telling his sister Tori that he's fallen for a straight boy. The following Saturday, Nick hangs out at Charlie's house, taking an interest in Charlie's hobbies and interacting with Charlie's family. Throughout the day, Nick has several moments where he feels something, even being tempted to hold Charlie's hand after Charlie falls asleep while they watch a movie and lingering longer than expected during a hug between friends. Tori deadpans the reader's thoughts after Nick departs that she doesn't think he's straight. Nick returns home, his head in a confused daze, doing a number of internet searches, but not hitting enter on the search, "I like girls, but now I like a boy," that might give him an answer, falling asleep in tears in a state of emotional turmoil. In the fortnight that follows, they continue to hang out every day of Easter holidays, Charlie starting to hopefully suspect that Nick likes him from a multitude of signs, but Tao's done some digging and heard that Charlie has a long-term crush on a girl called Tara Jones from a neighbouring school. The other players on the rugby team have noticed that Nick is abnormally affectionate towards Charlie. Nick asks Charlie to go to a massive party with him. Section 3. Crush. The party. Nick and Charlie find each other at Harry Green's birthday house party. They wander away from the dance floor to hang alone, but run into Harry, who excitedly informs Nick that Tara Jones, Nick's supposed crush of 2 years, that Nick kissed 3 years ago, is in attendance. Harry pushes Nick to try rekindling things with Tara Jones. Seeing Nick interact well with Tara, Charlie starts assuming the worst and begins berating himself when he bumps into Ben. Meanwhile, Tara reveals to Nick that she has a girlfriend now and asks about the rumors of Nick hanging out with Charlie a lot and what that means. Nick is unsure, but notices in alarm that Charlie is gone. Harry makes snide comments about Charlie, and Nick calls Harry out as homophobic before exploring the house to locate Charlie. Nick finds Charlie sitting at a table alone, Charlie immediately apologizing for wandering off. Nick counters, saying his friends are terrible and not to apologize. Charlie openly tells Nick that he ran into Ben, but this time, Charlie stood up for himself. The two of them go somewhere quieter, holding hands while they navigate the dance floor. Finding a private room, Nick explains he hasn't liked Tara since he was 13, confirms he has a crush, and that he might go out with somebody who isn't a girl. After several back and forths, questions and answers, Nick admits that he'd kiss Charlie. The two snog multiple times. A friend calls out, too close for the closeted Nick's comfort. Nick weakly justifies needing to go, leaving Charlie alone. Charlie starts apologizing profusely to the empty room, while Charlie's inner darkness deepens, thoughts crashing around him. The end of Heartstopper, Volume 1.